They thought you were harmless. They laughed at your silence. They called you weak because they couldn't see the storm building behind your eyes. Sun Tzu, the ancient master of war, left behind a tactic so powerful, so feared that entire kingdoms fell because they ignored it. A tactic built not on strength, but on illusion. He didn't teach you to overpower your enemy. He taught you to bait them, to make them come close, comfortable, careless, and when they finally drop their guard, you strike. In this video, we'll uncover the brutal genius behind this strategy. Why appearing weak is the deadliest form of strength. Why silence destroys faster than shouting. And why the ones who pretend to lose often win the entire war. Stay to the end, because once you understand how to weaponize your own weakness, you'll never be underestimated again. Everyone has been underestimated. You walked into the room and they looked past you. You spoke and they didn't listen. You were dismissed, ignored, laughed off. Not because you lacked power, but because you didn't show it. And in a world obsessed with loud confidence, quiet strength is mistaken for weakness. Every single time. But here's the truth. Being underestimated is not a disadvantage. It's a weapon if you know how to use it. Because when they think you're weak, they reveal themselves. They expose their arrogance. They take risks. They stop guarding what matters. And when the moment comes, they never see it coming. This is not about pretending. It's about patience. It's about playing the long game just like Sun Tzu did. In The Art of War, Sun Tzu writes, "Appear weak when you are strong, and strong when you are weak." This is not poetic advice. It's tactical misdirection. Strength alone is predictable, obvious, visible, and anything visible can be prepared for, defended against, neutralized. But weakness? That disarms people. It makes them drop their weapons physically, psychologically, strategically. When your enemy sees no threat, they expose themselves. And when they expose themselves, you control the terms of engagement. Most people waste their power trying to prove they have it. They talk loudly, post constantly, argue to be heard. But Sun Tzu understood that real power is silent. It moves in shadows. It lets the opponent speak first, strike first, celebrate first, and then bleed first. He taught that victory doesn't belong to the strongest arm. It belongs to the most unreadable mind. The moment your enemy believes you are beneath them, they open the door themselves. This is why the tactic is feared. It's psychological warfare. When you pretend to fall behind, people show their true nature. They taunt, they overcommit, they stop being cautious. And in that moment, you learn everything about them, who they protect, what they prioritize, what they fear. That knowledge becomes your blade, and the best part? They handed it to you willingly. This tactic isn't about acting powerless forever. It's about choosing when to reveal your strength. Think of a snake. It doesn't hiss until you step too close. It waits, still, silent, and when it strikes, it doesn't miss. That's what Sun Tzu taught: timing over dominance. You don't win wars by being seen. You win by being ignored until it's too late. Appearing weak is not surrender, it's seduction. It lures your enemy into the position you want them to take. It gives them confidence, control, the illusion of victory. And then, in one move, you reverse everything. You become the threat they never saw coming, the most dangerous kind. The one who was invisible until they were unstoppable. Sun Tzu didn't write from theory, he wrote from experience. His tactics weren't designed for short-term battles. They were crafted for systems of control. He understood that war begins long before the first strike. It begins in the mind, in the assumptions your enemy makes. In the false security you allow them to feel. Appearances are your first battlefield. And by appearing weak, you enter without resistance. You become the virus in the system unnoticed, spreading silently. He observed that the greatest generals weren't the ones who crushed their enemies. They were the ones who never needed to fight them head-on. Through misdirection, misinformation, and manipulation, they allowed their opponents to destroy themselves. Appear weak, and your enemy will rush forward. But when they strike what they thought was weakness, they find a trap. Sun Tzu built victory not on strength, but on error. The enemy's error. This is why Sun Tzu valued adaptability above aggression. In his world, to be rigid was to be broken. But to be fluid, to bend, to yield, to retreat strategically was to survive and dominate. By appearing weak, you become water. You slip through the cracks of overconfidence. You surround your opponent without confrontation. And when the pressure mounts, you become a flood. Crushing, unexpected, irreversible. He also taught that strength must be earned through mystery. The more predictable your power, the more vulnerable it becomes. But if your power is hidden, if your opponents don't know what you're capable of, they are forced to guess. And guessing leads to hesitation. Hesitation leads to mistakes. One mistake is all you need. Sun Tzu turned uncertainty into a weapon and made weakness look like strategy. Above all, Sun Tzu knew the truth most people avoid. Perception is power. If they see you as broken, they stop guarding themselves. If they think they've already won, they stop watching. That's when you move. That's when you strike. And that's why this tactic, this quiet, calm, deliberate deception is feared even centuries later. Because it still works. But what does it look like to use this tactic today? You're not on a battlefield. You don't wear armor or hold a sword. And yet you're in combat every day, at work, in relationships. In negotiations, every interaction is a contest of perception. And most people fail because they reveal their hand too early. They let the world see their ambition, their frustration, their strength. But what happens when you don't? What happens when you play the fool intentionally? When you say less, do less, and let others underestimate you? At first, they'll mock you. They'll speak freely in your presence, thinking you're harmless. But slowly, they begin to show you who they are. They let down their guard. They get comfortable, and you get information. And in strategy, information is power. This is how you win without effort. You don't compete. You listen. You nod. You agree. You observe. You make them think they've already beaten you. That they're smarter, stronger, more respected. And then when the time is right, you reveal what you were truly capable of. Not to impress, but to shatter the illusion they built around you. Have you ever shocked someone with your silence? Ever held back so much they forgot you were there until you outperformed them without warning? That feeling isn't coincidence. It's calculated. And the deeper your stillness, the greater the impact when you move. Because people don't fear what they expect. They fear what they never saw coming. So how do you master this? How do you become the type of person who appears calm, but is always calculating? There are specific habits, psychological triggers, tactical pauses, subtle cues that invert power dynamics without ever raising your voice. Once you understand them, you don't just defend yourself, you control the board. Quietly. Completely. When you begin to live by this tactic, something inside you shifts. You stop needing recognition. You stop reacting to disrespect. You no longer rush to prove yourself. Instead, you start watching, measuring, waiting. Every insult becomes data. Every dismissal becomes a doorway. You become a collector of weakness, their weakness not yours. And this quiet confidence rewires how you move through the world. But this transformation is not without cost. There's a loneliness in silence, a tension in restraint. When you hide your power, you also hide your pride. You become unreadable even to those closest to you. Because strategy doesn't just mask your strength, it masks your intention. And the longer you wear that mask, the harder it becomes to take off. You don't just appear weak. You live the illusion until the moment arrives. Yet that moment is everything. The first time you strike after years of being overlooked, it changes how the world sees you forever. The same people who dismissed you now question every word, every pause, every move. You become unpredictable. And unpredictability is power. Not because it's chaotic, but because it creates fear. They no longer know what you'll do. And that terrifies them. You also begin to notice something deeper. Control doesn't come from dominance. It comes from invisibility. You're in the room, but no one's protecting themselves from you. You're in the game, but no one's watching your moves. And that means you can go anywhere, learn anything, strike anytime without resistance. You are underestimated by design. And once you've tasted this power, this total strategic presence, you don't go back. You don't shout for respect. You don't chase validation. You don't fight every battle. You let the enemy come to you. You let them overreach. And when they do, you don't flinch. You strike. Precisely. Powerfully. Silently. Sun Tzu didn't teach you to win through strength. He taught you to win through illusion. Through stillness. Through making your enemy feel safe. Until they walk straight into defeat. Appear weak, he said. Not because you are, but because weakness invites arrogance, and arrogance creates blind spots. That's where power lives. The tactic is simple, but few have the discipline to use it. Most react, most rush. Most show their weapons before the enemy even decides to attack. But those who master this strategy, who understand that silence is sharper than steel, become a different kind of threat. They don't demand respect. They force it by never needing it. So remember, the next time they laugh at you, ignore you, overlook you, don't respond, don't explain, don't show them who you are. Let them keep guessing, because when the moment comes, when the illusion shatters, you won't just defend yourself. You'll end the war before they even realize it started.